Welcome to the Vernon Hills Update. The update offers information about a variety of village services. You'll meet a few of your neighbors, and you'll find out about upcoming events. On today's show, we'll learn about the joint venture by the village and park district to help control the population of skunks, which have been quite a nuisance in some village neighborhoods. We'll talk with an expert on skunks and their habits as we visit with wildlife biologist Tim Preuss of the Lake County Forest Preserve District. We'll continue our skunk theme as we visit VCA Hawthorn Animal Hospital to find out how to best care for our pets and how to get them cleaned up after any smelly encounter with one of the creatures. We'll also check in with our friends at the Vernon Hills Police Department for some important Halloween safety reminders. We'll stop by this year's Vernon Hills Public Works Open House, which was held on Tuesday, September 17th. And we'll enjoy some of the sights and sounds of this year's 9th annual Oktoberfest, which was held Saturday, September 28th at the Vernon Hills Metro Station. If you have comments or suggestions, please contact Mike Stordo at 847-918-3560 or email Mike S. at vhills.org. Thank you for tuning into the Vernon Hills Update.
Well, this edition of the Vernon Hills Update, we are covering skunks because heaven knows we've smelled them around the neighborhoods. We know they're out there. We're with two gentlemen that have been thinking about skunks a lot, unfortunately. We're with Mike Allison of the Village of Vernon Hills and Jeff Fougerousse of the Vernon Hills Park District. And I understand, gentlemen, that there have been, I'm not the only one that smelled skunks or had my dog skunked. So you guys are kind of trying to be proactive and do a little something for everybody in the community.
We're doing our best Mike and I have been talking about this for the last couple of weeks, and we had an opportunity a little over a week ago to get our boards together at a Village Park Liaison meeting, and it was a topic of interest to pursue. We've seen a lot of the skunks in our parks all throughout the village. Several of our park staff have been able to see some dead ones and some live ones pretty prominently this fall season. So we put our heads together and we came up with this effort to get a trapper out and see what we can do to try and eradicate some of the problem.
Okay, and when we talk about the trapper, so this is a licensed professional trapper. We're not as people who just live in town. We are not supposed to be able to trap or do anything like that.
I mean, this is a licensed trapper that we contracted with, and using a live trap. And the benefit of that, of course, is trapping what you want to trap, the skunks, and then letting go other animals, like especially domestic pets, cats, dogs, things like that.
So the trap doesn't hurt them, it just it cages them, and then they check it and they let them out. But we should still be careful where our own pets are.
Absolutely. Well, especially for what we were talking about before the interview, is getting skunked, quote unquote, your dog. Yeah, people should watch. And again, it goes back to Jeff and I talked about the prevalence of skunks this year. Particularly, they had 2 litters, we understand, because of the climate over the spring. So that's why there's so many of them, and that's why we took this endeavor. This isn't necessarily going to be an annual thing. It hasn't happened previous to this in recent time. It's really more because of this 2 litters in one season kind of thing, and there's so many of them that it's getting to be, there's a conflict, obviously, with pets, people. And then you see them on the road, too. Yeah. They don't have very good eyesight. That probably is something a Forest Preserve individual points out. And so they get hit in the road, and you know what happens then. And then, and they have a range of about 1 mile to 2 miles. So they can move around quite a bit.
And they have pretty big litters. So if they've had 2 litters, they could have 20 babies in a year, which is a lot of babies. So, so you guys are going to have traps out in the common areas, in the parks, in those sorts of areas. Are you going to keep them out there like till snow, or just till it seems like things are better under control? Or
yeah, I think that's something we're just going to assess as we go along. Obviously, if we get quite a few of them, that's a great thing. But they get ready for the winter time. So yeah, most likely we're going to keep this trap going within our financial allotments allow. But for the most part, that's the plan.
Okay, and to remind people too, if you do live in the village, you're not supposed to trap on your own. You have to have a license to do that. And I also understand, like BB guns and airsoft, we're not supposed to be using that to scare them off either.
No, and there are, I've heard from people like the automatic lights in your backyard, those automatic sprinklers. You can set timers and do different things, and that scares them away too. If you're concerned about your specific yard, of course that doesn't do anything to address the population. And I guess that's another thing too. You should retain for your private property, if you have a problem with your deck or a stoop in front of your house, different things like that, you should really retain a licensed trapper.
So
and there's references. Yeah, there's references on the village's website, and I'm sure there's links on the Park District's website, so to take a look at that.
Okay, sounds good. Well, I know you've sent out information in your email newses and some of the other things that people do. You can go online to both of these organizations' websites to learn more. I know the police department even has information on there about it.
Right.
So thank you for taking the time and the effort on this, because it is an unusual and smelly problem, and we do appreciate that you're trying to do something on it. So we'll watch and we'll see how that goes, and we do appreciate it. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, our all-access show about skunks on the Vernon Hills Update continues, and this time we have our skunk expert. He's a wildlife biologist at the Lake County Forest Preserve. Tim Preuss is here with us. Thank you for taking the time. You've been kind of a guy in the news because everybody's sort of talking about skunks because of the Vernon Hills effort to trap some of the critters. So thanks.
It's a hot topic lately.
It is a hot topic. Now, is it just a hot topic in Vernon Hills? Has Vernon Hills just got a few more? Are we just a little bit more aware of them?
Over the past couple of years, the number of calls that we get at the Forest Preserve District regarding skunk and skunk issues seems to have increased overall, but Vernon Hills in particular seems to be the focal point this year.
We're like ground zero of skunk populations. So, well, and skunks have a lot of babies. I mean, tell us a little bit about skunks so we understand what these critters are out doing.
Well, the striped skunk occurs throughout North America, throughout the United States and most of Canada. They're considered habitat generalists, so they can occur in grassland, prairie, forested areas, and they also do quite well in suburban and urban areas too. The females typically breed in late February through March, and then there's a two-month gestation period, and so the females will give birth to their young, typically in late April through June, at which time they'll have a litter of, on average, 6 young, but it can range from 2 to 12. Okay. And so the young then take about 2 months before they're completely weaned, at which time they'll start traveling around with the female, typically in late summer and into the fall. The young will also then disperse to find their own territories in the fall, and that's why we start seeing a lot more activity this time of year and a lot more, potentially nuisance issues.
Okay, so because it's the babies are out moving around, they've grown up quite a bit, now they're finding their own dens for winter. Do they hibernate?
They don't hibernate, but they typically enter a period of dormancy, and so when the temperatures get really cold, they'll remain in their dens, through the day and night, and then they'll come out, during kind of warm spells that we'll get throughout the winter.
Well, you said they're habitat generalists, so does that mean, where it seems like under porches and behind wood piles and just like any little place, it seems like there's skunks around.
Yeah, I mean, they'll establish their dens a lot of times on, forest grassland edges in agricultural areas as well, but also, when you get into suburban and urban areas, beneath decks, underneath sheds, patios and porches are areas that they tend to.
Excellent. That's just excellent. I think that's where we're getting kind of irritated, I guess, on Vernon Hills. And talk about what they eat, because I know I must have grubs in my yard because I see little holes in my yard that I know are from skunks. But what else do they eat?
Yeah, during the spring and summer, their primary diet consists of typically insects. And so grubs, grasshoppers, crickets compose the majority of their diet. As we get closer towards the fall, they tend to utilize fruits. So if there's apples and berries and whatnot that are accessible to them, that comprises a portion of their diet then as well. In the winter, like I said, they're not active as much, but since there's not much other food available, their diet then shifts more towards small rodents, some mice and voles, shrews. And then in urban and suburban areas, folks feed their pets outside, or have garbage that's accessible. Skunks will certainly take advantage of that as well.
So then thinking about that, what are some things you think we can do to just reduce the nuisance of skunks around? As a homeowner, what would you be doing?
Yeah, the main nuisance issues that come up with skunks are typically, when they, dig in lawns for grubs and insects, their presence, underneath decks and those types of things. And then, also just the presence of their odor when they happen to spray nearby, and then individuals that have actual encounters, either themselves with skunks or their dogs, that may be out. And as a homeowner, the main things that you can do are to reduce food sources, and so don't feed your pets outside, and leave food out. Make sure that your garbage is secured. And then also, even feeding birds. Skunks don't typically consume bird seed, but it attracts rodents and other and small birds that skunks will occasionally target for food as well. And so to keep any bird seed cleaned up from underneath feeders is a good thing to do. The other thing to do is go around your property, around your house, and just make sure that any possible areas that skunks could get into for denning are sealed up. And so seal up underneath your decks, or if there's any openings underneath sheds or anything like that, to seal those. And then if there are areas where you've got either wood piles or brush piles, to clean those up, and any low-lying shrubs, you may prune so they're not quite as thick, which would provide cover for skunks as well.
Yeah. So really we do need to learn to live with some of these creatures. The skunks seem pretty adaptable to it. You got to give them credit. They can eat just about anything and live just about anywhere. That's pretty cool. But we have to learn to live with them a little bit too. So. Yeah.
They're definitely going to be present in villages and communities throughout the area. Getting rid of them is not really something that's going to happen. And they do provide, a valuable, ecosystem role, by helping to control, insect and rodent populations as well. So there's certainly some value to them.
Okay. That's good. I hadn't thought of them as valuable. I'll try to look at them in a different way when they're like menacing my dog. Okay, thank you. You're a very positive person on that. So, well, and I know if people want to know more, you've been like Mr. Skunk Expert, which is a wonderful title for you to have. But I know there's a lot more information on the Lake County Forest Preserve website. Has a lot of information, and there's a lot of programs you can go to. There's just a lot of things you guys are doing up here. It's a great resource for everybody.
Yeah, there's a lot of information on our website at www.lcfpd.org. And then also on that site, there's a link to a Living with Wildlife website, which was established by the Illinois Department of Natural Resources and the University of Illinois Extension Office, which deals with pretty much all general nuisance wildlife issues that you might encounter here in Illinois.
Okay, good to know. Good resources to go to. Take a look on that website, link over to those others. Thank you for taking the time, and hopefully things will calm down and you can go on to your other types of wildlife questions. But I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, we've come to the VCA Hawthorn Animal Hospital to talk with Dr. Kathleen Laux about skunks and skunk smells and how skunks are impacting our pets. So thank you for taking a minute to talk to us. I know skunks have kind of been on everybody's mind lately. Yes. Have you had people coming in talking about that?
Definitely. We have people call fairly regularly asking about their animal being sprayed by a skunk or seeing skunks and just kind of complaining about the terrible smell that they leave behind. So it definitely is impacting our clients.
So it's not just at my house, it's all around. So.
That's correct, yes.
Now talk about skunks. I mean, we'll talk about the smell and how to get rid of it in a second, but is there a danger? I mean, is there something we should be vaccinating against, or is there something we should be doing to be more protective?
So the skunk in general is pretty low danger to your pet. Basically, if you leave the skunk alone, it leaves you alone. But unfortunately, a lot of our cats and dogs are very curious, and when they see an animal rustling in the bushes, they run over to it and want to check it out. And that's usually when they get sprayed. And they're most commonly sprayed in the face because that's what they're investigating with their sniffers. So it is low danger for an actual disease. The biggest thing that we would be concerned about would be a skunk passing rabies to a pet, but the animal would have to actually be bitten by the skunk and break the skin in order to pass that disease, and the skunk would have to be a carrier of that disease, and rabies is fairly uncommon in the animal population.
Okay. And as a rule, people with pets, we're getting rabies vaccines and things like that too to give us protection.
Correct. Okay. So animals and your county, rabies vaccines are required by law, and then you get your county tag, which proves that they're up to date on that. So if you have any concerns after your pet has been skunked, you can definitely bring it into your veterinarian or here us at VCA Hawthorn to have a look at it to make sure that there are no bites or anything associated with them getting sprayed. But if they're sprayed, the biggest thing really is usually just dealing with the smell and the aftermath.
Well, what about, because I know, like you said, they tend to get sprayed in the face, and then sometimes it's like the eyes are swelled up and the nose swells up, and they even look like they're like foaming. And what does that mean?
So the spray is definitely a very big irritant. It makes the eyes kind of burn a little bit and they swell up, as well as it tastes horrible in their mouth, and that's why they're foaming, to try and get that out of their mouth. So the best things to do for that is to rinse the eyes with something that can go in the eyes, like a contact solution, and then you can rinse the mouth with copious amounts of water to try and get that taste and feeling out of their mouth.
And about washing, I know years and years ago, Dr. Jorgensen was over at this vet office, and he talked about take a washcloth, and he had a concoction, and he said the washcloth helps to get the face cleaned off, that there isn't any eye damage, but it's just all that material on there. Now, let's talk to us about that concoction. Sure. And you're still using this special deal, right?
Yes, we still use this. We do give skunk baths here at VCA Hawthorn if your animal is more difficult to deal with or just something that you'd rather not deal with yourself.
Hello, it's like rather not deal with.
Yes. You can definitely give us a call and make an appointment for a skunk bath. And what we use, our concoction, measure a pint of hydrogen peroxide, a quarter cup of baking soda, and about a tablespoon of a grease-cutting dish soap such as dawn. Mix that all up together. You kind of want to make it a paste consistency, not too liquidy, and spread that all over your dog who's already been wet with water. Lather that up and let it sit on the animal for at least 20 minutes. You really have to give the elements time to work to help break up those enzymes in the skunk spray that's causing the horrible smell. So about 20 minutes, let it stand, and then rinse them off just like you'd rinse soap off for a bath. And then dry them, and usually this reduces the smell quite a bit. You can repeat it more than one time if necessary.
Okay, and you know, there's all those tales where you use tomato juice or you use mouthwash. We have skunk experience at our house. We're known as the skunk family by many people. So we didn't find that ever worked. Is that what you're finding too, that go with something like this?
Yes, the kind of the tomato juice and stuff is a little bit of an old wives' tale, and it's not very helpful.
Well, so what we're finding out is, first of all, you can help here, or if people have questions, you can stop over here. VCA Hawthorn Animal Hospital is on Route 45, just near Evergreen Drive between Deer Path and Evergreen. They can give you a call if they don't want to deal with this, or you see this special skunk remedy, which might take a few times, but you know, but the good news is probably not a danger to our pets, just an annoyance, I guess, to everybody.
Correct. Definitely more of an annoyance than a danger.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Thank you for your time. And remember, people, if you need some help, come on over here to the vet office, and Dr. Laux is here to help you. Thanks for taking the time to give us a little update on what we should be doing.
Hi, I'm Kim Christensen with the Vernon Hills Police Department's Crime Prevention Unit.
And I'm Sergeant Jim Levicki. Well, we're here today at the Marketplace Shopping Center right next to Sam's Club in Halloween City to discuss some Halloween safety tips for you this year.
First off, like always, in Vernon Hills, the Halloween trick-or-treat hours are on Halloween Day. That'll be Thursday, October 31st. The hours are from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Now, some general tips to go over with you. For parents, be sure to accompany your very young children when they're out trick-or-treating. When it comes to costumes, remember, light-colored, non-flammable costumes should be worn, and the children should carry a flashlight if they go out after dark.
When planning your costumes, keep in mind that long costumes and high-heeled shoes may be unsafe when crossing streets and climbing stairs. And also, think about using makeup instead of a mask. Sometimes masks can obstruct your vision.
Now, parents, here's some things that we want you to share with your child before he or she heads out. Instruct your child to always be courteous and respectful of the property of others. And tell your child not to accept rides from strangers or older children not known to them and you.
You also want to make sure you instruct your child not to enter a home of anyone unless it's someone you know or a relative. And then you also want to make sure that your children stay on the sidewalk as much as possible and confine their trick-or-treating to your own immediate neighborhood.
Parents, please ask your child to walk, not run from house to house. It can sure be exciting running from house to house and getting the candy and stuff, but it's safer to walk. And they should always watch for traffic when they do have to cross the street. Look to the left, look to the right, and see if there's any vehicles coming. And most important, urge your children to wait until they return home before eating any of their treats.
And speaking of those treats, parents, make sure you check the contents thoroughly to make sure nothing has been tampered with, and throw away any unwrapped candy or fruit. And always remember, when in doubt, throw it out.
Now, parents and drivers and motorists, there's going to be a lot of cars parked on the street this Halloween. There always is. When the children are out trick-or-treating, please watch for them. You never know when one of them is going to come darting out across the street and darting out between two cars. Expect the unexpected. They're out having a great time and having a fun time. Please watch for them.
Now, for your parents who'll be handing out treats in your home, make sure you're not inviting any children into your house, and you also want to make sure you keep your porch light and your driveway light on to make sure there's as much visibility for all of our younger trick-or-treaters as well.
Once again, we'd like to thank the staff and management at Halloween City on Route 21 at the Marketplace Shopping Center for their assistance in this public service announcement.
Now remember, our Halloween hours are Thursday, October 31st from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. Same as last year, same as next year.
Well, on behalf of Chief Mark Fleischauer and everybody at the Vernon Hills Police Department, including Gumby, we want to wish everybody a happy and safe Halloween. Thank you.
Hills. Thank you.
We'll close this edition of the Vernon Hills Update with a look back at some of the sights and sounds of the 9th annual Oktoberfest. But remember, if you have comments or suggestions, please contact Mike Storto at 847-918-3560 or email Mike S. at vhills.org. Thank you for tuning into the Vernon Hills Update.
You guys like Lady Gaga?
Man, these girls have all the moves up here. I need to take lessons.
Yeah, you do, kind of. Just saying.
I won't lie, I can't dance.
Just saying.
Don't let yourself off yet. It's only in you and you feel left out and looked down on.
this next song, it was a movie, and they got a dance for it, and I'm gonna try it here, make sure I don't fall over here. So if you guys know it, it'd be great if you dance with us. Oh, you ladies might know it. This movie just came out this year, again. Maybe, yeah, 2 years ago, maybe. Any ideas?
Time flies when you're having fun.
Any ideas? Top Gun. No, I'm just kidding.
He's joking.
Okay, let's do this.
This here's Randy. Give it up for Randy.
Been working so hard. I'm punching my card. Hey there, forward. Oh, tell me what I got. I got this feeling. This town's been holding me down. I'll hit the ceiling, or else I'll tear up this town. Tonight I gotta cut loose, kick off the Sunday shoes. Please, Louis, pull me off of my knee. Jack, get back, come on before we crack. Lose your blues, everybody cut loose. You're playing so cool, obeying every rule. I dig away down in your heart. You're burning, yearning for somebody to tell you this life ain't passing you by. I'm here to tell you it will if you don't even try. You can fly if it only cut loose, kick off the Sunday shoes. Please, hurry, shake it for me. Oh, my Lord, come on, let's go. Lose your blues, everybody cut foot loose. Cut foot loose. Cut foot loose. Cut foot loose. You got to turn it around and put your feet on the ground. Now take a hold of your soul. I'm turning loose. Kick off the Sunday shoes. Please, Louis, pull me off of my knees. Jack, get back, come on before we crack. Lose your blues, everybody cut foot loose. Kick off the Sunday shoes. Please, Louis, pull me off of my knees. Jack, get back, come on before we crack. Lose your blues. Everybody cut, everybody cut. Everybody cut, everybody cut. Everybody cut, everybody cut. Everybody cut foot loose. All right, and you ladies knew the dance. I thought you would. That was awesome.
That was great. Okay. What do we got next?
Nice.
All right, this next one, you guys sing along if you know it. We're gonna have you go like this too.